saw your IG post, Elana, and because you said on October 18th, the boys and I will leave home, and if all goes well, we won't be back until after the Olympics in February. So we're talking with a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Like I said, I think I'm a glutton for punishment a little bit here. So it is chaos every single day, but I wouldn't have it other way because, like, I reached this point in my sporting career where I was like, okay, I'd won medals and I still wanted to win more. Of course, I was in a position to win more, but it didn't really have meaning behind it. And having kids kind of gave me meaning to my sport. Like, at the end of the day, especially being a mom with kids with disabilities, like, I want to show them that you can go out there and fight for your dreams, and you can go out there and overcome obstacles and do all of this, no matter what the world says to you. Because, like, at the ages of 3 and 5, they've already had plenty of people in their lives tell them no, they can't do something, they won't do something. And so, you know, as a 41-year-old mom of 2, there's plenty of people telling me this isn't going to happen and it can't happen. So it's my job as a mom to model that for them. And so that's why it's important to have them on the road. It's important to figure out how to make it work. And it looks chaotic every single day. And we travel with a nanny, and she's been amazing and helps us every step of the way. But there's a lot of chaos. But at the end of the day, like, I have to model that for them. So then when that person comes up to them and tells them no, that they don't listen at all. And literally they can't listen because they're deaf, so they literally just don't take any heart in it.
Wow. Tell us more about that as well.
Yeah, so them being deaf is like, we had no history of deafness in our family. I mean, I think everybody has some kind of history of hearing loss, but it's usually as your parents age. Like, everybody, if you live long enough, you'll get some kind of disability, which is pretty cool because it's the only minority group that everybody can join. Everybody has the potential to join. So if you're blessed enough to live long enough, more than likely you'll start to lose your hearing or you'll start to lose your vision or something like that. But in general, we had no history of deafness. We had no history of hearing loss. So to have our first son not only be born with Down syndrome, but be born with hearing loss and profound deafness, like, it was a shock to us. But at the same time, we've been met with arms wide open by the deaf community, by the Down syndrome community, and they've really walked us through this entire journey. So as a family, we do, our primary language is American Sign Language. That's my shirt, bobsled sign language. And so it's been a learning process the entire way, just trying to figure this out and trying to figure out what it looks like. And the biggest thing is just having confidence in yourself as a parent, is like, you're going to figure your kids out regardless.
Do you have to support yourself through this entire process of being a bobsledder? Like, how do you survive?
Right.
Like, I don't understand how that works for bobsledders.
I don't understand how it works either, because it's crazy expensive. And so, long story short, no, they don't provide any additional funding for nanny services or anything like that. And traditionally in our sports and in winter sports, a lot of times when you end up having a child, most women end up retiring, but now it's getting more and more common for women to have their children and continue traveling, but most of the time they do it with their spouse. So I'm part of a new wave who's actually doing it with the nanny services, and so far the infrastructure isn't quite in place for that yet. For me, I've relied heavily on sponsors, and with it being an Olympic year, I've been able to get some really good sponsors. But I think one reporter had asked me, like, after almost 20 years of bobsledding, am I going to walk away with a paycheck? And I said, if I didn't have kids, yeah, I'd probably walk away with the paycheck, but also I would have walked away a long time ago. So, but having kids and, 4 months on the road in European hotels and in little ski towns, like, it's not cheap. And then hiring a nanny and the salary and stuff like that. So I won't walk away with a check from bobsled. I'll walk away with some debt, but at the end of the day, like, I can't pass up this experience. Like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure my kids have this experience. And because it's also been an experience not only for them to be able to learn how to interact in a hearing world and how to interact with people without disabilities, but also it's been really good for the other athletes too, because a lot of the other athletes, the first deaf people they've met, or the first person with Down syndrome they've met, have actually been my sons, which is pretty incredible, because I've had athletes come up to me and tell me, like, when they're thinking about parenting and all that kind of stuff, like, Down syndrome isn't as scary anymore. Like, they're not afraid of what could happen in pregnancy and all the many, many things that can happen in pregnancy. They're not as afraid anymore, which has been pretty cool to have that feedback.
Elana, you are amazing.
Wow.
I mean, just being a mom is on its own is hard.
Yes.
Like, to do it, and and the other thing is, I always think, when people look at Olympians, they see the shiny object, they see the end product, they see the glamour and the glitz, and they don't realize sometimes the grind, the commitment, the love of the sport and the family and all those things that go into it. And you are this like living, breathing example of all of that. Oh, that's amazing to me.
It is amazing. And I feel like it's not it's not fair that you're going to be walking away potentially with any kind of debt as an Olympian. Like that's making me very upset right now. Like is there anything that our listeners can do to support you specifically in this process? Because I hate the fact that there are so many Olympic sports women who are spending their own money in order to do their job.
I think the biggest thing has been outside athletes, like creating the infrastructure and creating the tools that we need to be able to get to where we want to go. Like, for instance, Alicia Montano created For All Mothers, and that provides childcare grants to us, and that's provided childcare grants to, I think, all the bobsled and skeleton, which is face first down the ice. Skeleton is our sister sport. They travel with us and everything like that. So they've created grants to help us offset costs with childcare and things like that. And Allison Felix has done amazing things within the IOC, within the USOPC to try and help us with that. But also, like, we're continuing to advocate within the groups that we're in. Bobsled itself is one of the more expensive sports. So to be honest, that's part of it. It's like our equipment is crazy expensive, and so like I just dropped $6,000 on a set of runners, and you have to. And I don't even know if those runners will be the runners I need for the Olympic Games. And so ideally, I'd have 3 or 4 sets of that. And so you're talking $24,000 right there just in equipment, and that's maybe I'll use at the Olympic Games. So when you add in childcare expenses, when you add in all that kind of stuff, it just adds up, and so that ends up making our sports really expensive. And so the biggest thing is, like, for me, where I'm at in the sport is like even just starting at the position where it's acceptable to have kids on tour. And so now we've crossed that barrier, because for a long time it hasn't been acceptable to have kids on tour. And so now on tour there's even a father traveling around with his kids, which is really cool, because you would have never seen that. Like, the long belief in our sport is if you're a dad, you leave your kids at home, you don't see them for 6 months and all this kind of stuff like that. So now to have a father, in addition to my husband when he was bobsledder, of course we all traveled with our son and everything like that, but now to have even fathers feel like it's okay to travel with their kids on tour, like, we've come a long way. And so that was the first barrier. The next barrier is, like you said, getting that financial support and continuing to push and get those kind of things. And I think as more and more athletes do it, we'll be able to get that kind of support, but we're just not there yet. But so far, it's been incredible athletes outside of the USOPC, outside of those formal organizations, that have created their own organizations to support other women.
Yeah. You're like the Joy Fawcett in bobsledding. Joy Fawcett was our trailblazer in soccer with motherhood. When you're going through all this with Nico and Noah, and you're watching them, what are you most hopeful that they'll absorb from your journey?
I think the thing I'm most hopeful about is that I want them to see that I faced the challenges head on. It's like we went after them. Like, we didn't shy away from the challenges that we faced, because I can't even imagine the things they're going to have to overcome. I'm a hearing person. I'm not disabled. I have no concept of what their lives are going to look like, other than being an observer of what they've already been through. So for me, it really is, like, I hope that they are able to face challenges head on, and that's what I want them to be able to do. I want them to be able to, like, in a sports metaphor, like in the bobsled, I think about attacking the track. Like, I want them to attack the track of their lives and go after the challenges and go after the things they want. Now, for my youngest, that's not going to be a problem at all, because he's pretty headstrong. He's pretty much like me. But I need to instill that in them, because, like I said, the world's not going to do it for me. The world's not going to make sure that they're taken care of, and they need to be able to take care of themselves at the end of the day, disabled or not.